Into, there is a strange kind of fear that only exists on an empty road at night. It begins when the last gas station disappears behind you, when the radio turns to static, when the headlights only show 20 feet of asphalt ahead, and every mile marker starts to look the same. Most of the time, a long drive is just a long drive. You keep your hands on the wheel. You watch the signs. You tell yourself the strange car behind you is only going the same way. You tell yourself the road is supposed to look unfamiliar. You tell yourself the GPS knows where it is taking you. But sometimes the road does not want to let you go. Tonight's stories are about highways, wrong exits, late night rest stops, and the kind of places you only find when you are too tired to turn back. So lock your doors. Keep your eyes on the road. And whatever you do, do not stop where there are no lights. Story 1. The wrong exit on Route 14. I used to drive from St. Louis to Tulsa twice a month. My mother lived just outside Tulsa, in a small ranch house with a white porch, 2 stubborn cats, and a kitchen that always smelled like cinnamon even when she had not baked anything. After my father died, I started visiting her whenever I could. The drive was long but simple. Take Interstate 44 West. Stop once for gas. Maybe grab coffee. Arrive before midnight if traffic was kind. I had done it so many times that I barely needed the GPS. But in late October, after a week of overtime and almost no sleep, I made one mistake. I left too late. I told myself it would be fine. The weather was clear. My car had a full tank. My mother was expecting me by morning, not that night. There was no reason to rush, but around 1:15 in the morning, somewhere in the dark stretch between Springfield and Joplin, I began getting tired. Not normal tired. The kind of tired where the road starts breathing, where the white lane markings slide toward you in long hypnotic streams, where your eyes close for half a second and your whole body jerks awake. I rolled down the window. Cold air hit my face. I turned up the radio. Static. I changed stations. More static. Then the GPS voice spoke through the speakers. Take exit 187 in 2 miles. I frowned. That was not part of my usual route. I glanced at the screen. The blue line had shifted. According to the GPS, there was a faster way around construction ahead. 7 minutes saved. I almost ignored it. Then the GPS repeated, take exit 187. I was too tired to argue with the machine. 2 miles later, I took the exit. The ramp curved away from the interstate and dropped me onto a 2-lane road lined with trees. There were no streetlights, no gas station, no houses, just the road, my headlights, and a green sign that said Route 14 West. I had never heard of Route 14, but the GPS showed the blue line continuing straight for 12 miles before reconnecting with the highway. I told myself 12 miles was nothing. I could handle 12 miles. For the first few minutes, everything was fine. The road was smooth. The trees thinned. A pale noon hung low behind the clouds. Then the GPS lost signal. The screen froze. The arrow stopped moving. I sighed and kept driving. There was only one road. As long as I stayed on it, I would eventually reconnect with the interstate. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The road did not curve. It did not climb. It did not pass another road. It just continued straight through the dark. I checked the dashboard clock. 1:32 in the morning. I had been on Route 14 for 17 minutes. That made no sense. At the speed I was driving, I should have reached the interstate already. I looked at my phone. No service. Not one bar. That was when I saw the first sign. It stood on the right shoulder half covered by weeds. The reflective paint caught my headlights just long enough for me to read it. Welcome back. I slowed down. Welcome back to where? There was no town name, no county line, no business logo, just those two words. Welcome back. I looked in the rearview mirror. The sign disappeared into darkness. A mile later, I saw another one. Same size, same old green paint. We missed you. I took my foot off the gas. The car slowed to 40, then 35. Okay, I said out loud, mostly to hear my own voice. This is just some weird local thing. Small towns had weird signs. Tourist traps had weird signs. Maybe there was an old campground nearby. Maybe someone thought it was funny. Then I saw headlights behind me. At first, they were far back. 2 small yellow points in the rearview mirror. I felt relieved. Another car meant another person. Another person meant I was not the only idiot who had followed the GPS onto a road that did not seem to end. The headlights stayed far behind me for a minute. Then they got closer. First, I pressed the accelerator. The speedometer climbed to 50. The headlights kept coming. 60, still closer. The road was too narrow for comfort, with no shoulder and trees pressing in on both sides. I did not want to speed. I did not want to end up wrapped around a tree because some truck wanted to pass. So I eased toward the right side of the lane. The headlights moved closer, then closer, until they filled the rearview mirror. Whoever was behind me was riding my bumper. I could not see the vehicle, only the lights. Old headlights, dim yellow, too high off the ground to be a normal car. Maybe a pickup, maybe a van. I lifted one hand in irritation. Go around. The vehicle did not go around. It stayed behind me, close enough that my car filled with yellow light. Then it flashed its high beams. Once, twice. I gripped the wheel. There was no place to pull over. No driveway, no shoulder, no side road. The GPS suddenly came back to life. The screen flickered. The blue arrow spun in a circle. Then the voice said, "Make a U-turn." I almost laughed. There was nowhere to turn around. The road was too narrow. The vehicle behind me flashed its lights again. The GPS repeated, "Make a U-turn." I checked the rearview mirror. The headlights had changed. They were farther back now, much farther. That made no sense. They had been almost touching my bumper a second before. Then I looked ahead. A set of headlights appeared in front of me, coming toward me. Same yellow color, same height, same steady approach. I slowed down. The oncoming vehicle slowed too. The road was straight. There was no intersection, no curve, no way for the car behind me to have gotten in front of me. But there it was, driving toward me in my lane. I slammed the brakes. My car skidded slightly on damp leaves scattered across the asphalt. The headlights stopped about 50 yards ahead. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then the headlights turned off. The road went black. I sat frozen, both hands locked on the wheel. My headlights showed an empty stretch of road. There was no vehicle, no truck, no fun, nothing. Just asphalt, trees, and a thin layer of fog beginning to gather low over the ground. Then something knocked on my passenger side window. 3 soft taps. Tap, tap, tap. I screamed. My head snapped right. There was a man standing outside the car. He was close enough that his face almost touched the glass. He looked maybe 60, maybe older. He wore a brown work jacket, dark cap, and an orange reflective vest, so faded it looked almost pink. His skin was pale and loose around the eyes. He bent down and looked inside. Then he smiled. Not wide, just enough. I locked the doors. I thought they were already locked, but I hit the button again. The man lifted one hand. In it, he held a road flare. Not lit, just held upright, like he wanted me to see it. He stared at him. His lips moved. I could not hear him through the glass. I shook my head. He moved closer. The tip of his nose touched the window. Then I heard him, not loudly, not clearly, but somehow through the closed window, I heard his voice. "You missed your turn." I did not answer. The man looked toward the road ahead, then back at me. "You always miss your turn here." My chest tightened. "I do not know you," I whispered. His smile faded. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something small, a folded piece of paper. He pressed it against the window. It was an old photograph. My car, the same car I was sitting in, same color, same cracked rear bumper, the same university sticker I had never bothered to remove from the back window. But in the photo, the car was parked on the shoulder of Route 14. The driver's door was open, and I was not inside. Written across the bottom in black marker were 2 words: "Try again." I threw the car into drive and hit the gas. The man disappeared from the passenger window as my tires screamed against the pavement. I did not look back. The road ahead was still empty. No headlights, no man, no vehicular. I drove as fast as I dared. 65, 70. The trees blurred on both sides. Then the GPS spoke again. "Continue straight for 0.5 miles. I almost cried with relief. The screen showed the interstate ahead. A junction, a ramp, civilization. The fog began to thin. Then I saw a sign, a green highway sign with white letters. Interstate 44 West, 1 mile. I exhaled. Thank God. I kept driving. Half a mile later, the sign changed. Not physically. It did not move. It did not flicker. But when my headlights hit it again, the words were different. Route 14 West, 1 mile. I slammed on the brakes. The car stopped in the middle of the road. My hands were shaking. I looked at the GPS. The blue line showed a loop, a perfect circle. No interstate, no junction, no other roads, just Route 14. And my car in the middle of it. Then my mother called. Her name appeared on the car screen. "Mom," I answered immediately. "Mom?" For a second, there was only static. Then her voice came through. "Are you almost here?" I almost broke down. "I do not know where I am." There was a pause. "What do you mean?" "I took some wrong exit. The GPS sent me onto Route 14. I cannot get back to the highway." My mother did not speak. "Mom?" When she finally answered, her voice was different. Small, afraid. "David, pull over." "No, listen to me. I cannot pull over. There is someone here." "What did you say?" "There was a man outside my car." The line crackled. Then my mother said, "Did he have a vest?" I felt every muscle in my body tighten. "How do you know that?" "David, listen carefully. Your father and I took that road once." I stared through the windshield. The road ahead was dark and empty. "When?" "Years ago, before you were born." "What happened?" My mother's breath shook. "We were driving back from Kansas City. Your father got tired. The GPS did not exist then, but there was a detour sign. It sent us down a road we could not find on a map." "Route 14? She did not answer right away. Then she said, "Your father saw a man in a vest." I looked at the passenger window. Empty. "What happened?" "He told us we missed our turn." The call crackled again. I could hear wind on her end of the line, but she was inside her house. I knew she was inside. "Mom?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Your father never talked about it again." The phone beeped. Call failed. I tried calling back. No service. The road remained silent. Then the vehicle appeared behind me again. Headlights, far back at first, then closer. First, I drove. I had no plan, no signal, no idea where the road led. All I knew was that I could not stop. The headlights followed for miles, maybe, or minutes. Time stopped making sense. My dashboard clock stayed frozen at 1:44 in the morning. The headlights behind me did not pass. They did not fall back. They stayed exactly 3 car lengths away. Then, up ahead, I saw the man in the vest standing in the middle of the road. He held the unlit road flare at his side. I hit the brakes. The car behind me did not slow. Its headlights grew larger in the mirror. I jerked the wheel left. The car swerved around the man. The tires left the pavement. For one terrible second, the world became grass, trees, and headlight beams spinning across branches. Then the car dropped back onto the road. I kept going. In the rearview mirror, the man still stood there. He turned slowly to watch me drive away. Then he lifted one hand and pointed, not at me, at something ahead. A sign appeared on the right shoulder. This one was newer. White letters on a blue background. Rest area 2 miles. I knew I should not stop. Every part of me knew it, but the headlights behind me had vanished. The GPS screen was black. My hands were slick with sweat, and I was so tired I could barely keep the car centered in the lane. 2 miles later, I saw the rest area. It sat on the left side of the road. A small parking lot, 1 low brick building, 2 vending machines glowing under a flickering light, a payphone mounted beside the restroom doors. There were no other cars. I pulled into the lot, turned off the engine, and immediately regretted it. The silence was too complete. No insects, no highway noise, no wind, nothing. I locked the doors and looked at my phone. No service. The payphone outside gave me an idea, a stupid idea, but an idea. I could call 911. I could call my mother. I could tell someone where I was. I sat there for almost 5 minutes, staring at the payphone. Then it rang. 1 sharp, metallic ring. I jumped. The sound echoed across the empty parking lot. It rang again. I did not move. Again. Finally, I opened the car door. Cold air poured in. I walked toward the payphone slowly, keeping my keys between my fingers like they could protect me from anything on that road. The phone rang one last time. I picked up the receiver. For a second, there was only static. Then my father's voice said, "David, do not take the exit." I almost dropped the phone. My father had been dead for 3 years. His voice was exactly as I remembered it. Low, tired, a little hoarse from years of coffee and cigarettes. "Dad, listen to me," he said. My eyes filled with tears so quickly I could barely see. "You are already on the road, but you can still get out." "How?" "Do not follow the signs." "What signs?" The vending machine behind me flickered. The light above the restroom door buzzed. My father's voice became urgent. "When he points, go the other way." I turned around. The man in the vest was standing at the edge of the parking lot. He was under the flickering light. He raised one arm, pointing toward the restrooms. My father whispered, "Get in the car." I dropped the receiver and ran. The man did not chase me. He only watched. I threw myself into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and started the engine. The car turned over on the 3rd try. The man pointed toward the exit on the right side of the lot. So I drove left, across the curb, through wet grass, past a row of dead bushes. The car bounced hard enough that my head hit the roof. Then the tires found pavement, a narrow service road. No signs, no lights, no markings. I followed it. For the first time all night, the headlights did not return behind me. The service road curved through a patch of trees, then climbed a small hill. At the top, I saw the interstate, real traffic, real signs, white headlights moving west, red tail lights moving east. I laughed, not because anything was funny, because I thought I might survive. The service road ended at an on-ramp, blocked by 2 orange cones. I drove between them and merged onto Interstate 44. The moment my tires touched the interstate, my phone regained service. The dashboard clock jumped from 1:44 to 3:09. My mother called. I answered. She was crying before I spoke. "Where are you?" "Back on the interstate." "Keep driving," she said. "Do not stop until you see people." I did. I drove to the next real truck stop. It was bright, ugly, crowded, and perfect. I parked beneath the lights and sat there shaking for almost half an hour. When I finally got out, I checked the side of my car. There were muddy handprints on the passenger window. Long fingers, too long. And on the rear bumper, someone had written in the dirt, "Welcome back." I reached my mother's house after sunrise. She hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. Then she told me the rest of the story. Years earlier, when she and my father had found Route 14, a man in a vest had tried to guide them toward a rest area. My father ignored him. He took a service road instead. They escaped, but my father believed the road remembered them. He believed it would try again one day. That was why he never liked me driving at night. That was why he always told me to stay on the interstate. I went home 2 days later, in daylight. I looked for exit 187 on the way back. It was not there. There was a exit 186, then an exit 188, but no exit 187, no Route 14, no rest area, no service road. I checked online maps, nothing. I called the state highway office. They said there was no Route 14 in that section of Missouri. Not now, not ever. I stopped visiting my mother by car after that. I fly, or she comes to me. And sometimes when I am driving at night and the GPS suddenly recalculates, I turn it off. I stay on the road I know, because somewhere between Springfield and Joplin, there is an exit that should not exist. And if you are tired enough, if you are alone enough, if you trust the voice from the dashboard more than your own instincts, you might see the sign, Route 14 West, 1 mile, and a man in a faded vest waiting beside the road, ready to tell you that you missed your turn. Story 2. The rest stop with no lights. I was driving north through Pennsylvania when I saw the sign, rest area, 2 miles. Normally, I would have kept going. It was past midnight, and I hated stopping at highway rest areas after dark. There was something about them that always made me uneasy. The empty picnic tables, the humming vending machines, the long rows of parking spaces, lit by lights that were either too bright or not bright enough. But that night, I did not have a choice. I had been on the road for nearly 6 hours, driving from Baltimore to Buffalo after visiting my brother. I was supposed to leave in the morning, but a storm was coming in, and I thought I could beat it if I drove through the night. That was my first mistake. By 1:20 in the morning, I was somewhere between Scranton and Binghamton, with rain hitting the windshield so hard the wipers could barely keep up. The highway was almost empty. Every few minutes, a truck would pass in the opposite direction, spraying water across the divider. My phone battery was at 9%. My coffee was gone, and I had to use the bathroom badly enough that I was starting to sweat. So when the blue rest area sign appeared through the rain, I took the exit. The ramp curved away from the interstate and dipped into a patch of trees. At the bottom was a small rest area I had never seen before. One brick restroom building, 2 vending machines under a metal awning, a row of picnic tables, a payphone, a dark information kiosk with faded maps behind cracked glass, and a parking lot with maybe 8 cars, no trucks, no RVs, just cars. That was the first thing that felt strange. Highway rest areas at night usually had at least one semi parked somewhere, engine running, driver sleeping inside, but this one had none. Only regular cars, all parked neatly in a row facing the restroom building. Their headlights were off. Their interiors were dark. Rainwater ran down their windshields in silver lines. I parked near the vending machines, grabbed my phone, and checked the battery again. 8%. No signal. That did not surprise me. The road had been cutting through low hills for the past 20 minutes. I figured service would come back once I got closer to town. I turned off the engine. The silence came in immediately. Not total silence. Rain tapped on the roof. Water rushed through a drain somewhere near the curb. The vending machines hummed under the awning, but beneath all that, the place felt empty in a way I could not explain. Not quiet, empty. I locked my car and hurried toward the restrooms. Halfway there, I noticed something odd. None of the building lights were on. The blue sign had said the rest area was open. There were cars in the lot. The vending machines were running, but the restroom building itself was dark. Not completely dark. There was a weak red emergency light glowing above the entrance, just enough to show the metal doors. Men, women, family restroom. I tried the men's room. Locked. I tried the family restroom. Locked. I swore under my breath and stepped back under the awning. That was when I heard a toilet flush from inside the men's room. I froze. A second later, water ran in a sink, then stopped. I leaned closer to the door. Hello? No answer. I knocked. Hey, are you almost done? Nothing. The door stayed locked. I looked back at the parking lot. 8 cars. No movement. No headlights. No one walking around. I knocked again. Harder. Still nothing. Then, from inside the men's room, someone knocked back. 3 slow taps. Tap, tap, tap. I stepped away from the door. For a moment, I told myself it was some guy being a jerk. Maybe someone sleeping in there. Maybe a homeless person. Maybe a traveler who had locked himself inside because he did not want to be bothered. Then the payphone rang. The sound cut through the rain so sharply that I almost dropped my keys. The phone was mounted on the wall beside the information kiosk. An old metal payphone, the kind I had not seen working in years. It rang again. I stared at it. A third ring. Then a fourth. I did not want to answer. Of course I did not. But when you are alone in a place that feels wrong, sometimes curiosity becomes stronger than fear. I walked over slowly and lifted the receiver. There was static. Then a woman's voice said, "Are you in the blue sedan?" I looked at my car. It was not blue. It was grey. At least, I'd always thought of it as grey. But under the rain and the pale vending machine glow, it looked almost blue. "Who is this?" The line crackled. The woman sounded far away. Or tired. Or both. "You need to leave before the lights come on." I turned toward the restroom building. "What lights? Please," she said. "Do not go inside." "I cannot go inside. The doors are locked." There was a pause. Then she whispered, "No, they are not." Behind me, a metal door creaked open. I turned around. The men's room door was now standing half open. Darkness beyond it. No person in the doorway. No footsteps. Only the red emergency light above the entrance, flickering faintly in the rain. I put the receiver down. The woman on the phone began speaking faster. I could hear her voice from the dangling earpiece. Sir, do not. I hung up. For a few seconds, I stood under the awning with my keys in my hand, looking at the open door. Then my bladder reminded me why I had stopped. I told myself the call was a prank. I told myself someone had wired the phone to scare people. I told myself a lot of things. Then I turned on my phone flashlight and stepped into the men's room. The air inside was colder than outside. It smelled like bleach, old water, and something metallic. My phone light caught 3 sinks, 2 urinals, and a row of stalls. Everything looked normal. Wet footprints crossed the tile floor. That made me stop. They were not my footprints. They were muddy, heavy, and fresh. They started near the door, crossed the room, and ended in front of the last stall. The stall door was closed. I stood there, listening. Nothing. "Hello?" I said. No answer. I backed toward the urinal closest to the door. I wanted to finish quickly and leave. I kept my phone light pointed toward the last stall. I was almost done when the stall door opened by 1 inch. Only 1 inch. Then it stopped. I froze. A black shape moved in the gap. Not a face. Not exactly. Just darkness. Then a voice whispered from inside the stall. "You are late." I did not zip my jacket. I did not wash my hands. I ran. My shoes slipped on the wet tile as I hit the door with my shoulder and burst back into the rain. The parking lot looked different. Not physically. The cars were still there. The vending machines still hummed. The red emergency light still flickered. But now every car in the row had its interior light on. All 8 of them, pale yellow rectangles glowing through rain-streaked windows. I stopped beneath the awning. My car was 20 yards away. Between me and it were the parked cars. The first one was a green Subaru wagon. The driver's door was closed. Interior light on. No one inside. The second was a white sedan. Interior light on. No one inside. The third was a red compact car. Interior light on. No one inside. One by one, I looked down the row. Empty. Every car was empty, but all their doors were shut. All their lights were on. And on the inside of every windshield, written in the fogged glass, were the same 2 words. Stay parked. I walked backward until I bumped into the vending machine. Something inside it shifted. A can rolled forward by itself and dropped into the tray with a loud metallic thud. I jumped. Then another can dropped. Then another. Then the machine's display lit up. Not with a price. Not with a product code. With a message. "Please make your selection." I stared at it. The display changed. Blue said, and my car alarm went off. The sound exploded across the parking lot. Lights flashing, horn blaring. I sprinted toward it. Halfway across the lot, every car in the row unlocked at the same time. Click, 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 click. The sound was soft, but in that empty rest area, it felt enormous. I reached my car and pulled the handle. Locked. I pressed the button on my key fob. Nothing. I pressed it again. The alarm kept screaming. The doors stayed locked. I looked through the window. My keys were in my hand. My phone was in my hand. But on the driver's seat, there was a folded paper map. I did not own a paper map. The alarm stopped. The parking lot fell silent again. Then the payphone rang. Once, twice. I did not answer. I kept pressing the unlock button. Nothing. Then my phone buzzed. 1% battery. A notification appeared. No signal, no sender. Just one text message. Answer it. The payphone rang again. I turned toward it. The receiver was swinging slightly, even though no wind reached under the awning. I walked back slowly. Every step felt like a bad decision. I picked up the phone. This time, a man spoke. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "Are you ready to continue?" I swallowed. "Who are you?" "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you leave." I looked back at my car. The interior light was now on. There was still no one inside. The map on the seat had been unfolded. I could see thick red lines drawn across it. "What do you want?" I asked. The man chuckled softly. "We do not want anything. We are only here to help drivers who need to rest. Let me into my car." "You stopped." "I had to. Everyone says that." The line crackled. Then the man said, "You should look inside the blue sedan." I did. "There is a map." "Not yours." "I know. Read it." The phone went dead. I walked back to my car. This time, when I pulled the handle, the door opened. The moment I sat down, the smell hit me. Old cigarettes, wet carpet, and perfume I had not smelled since I was a child. My grandmother used to wear it. My grandmother, who died when I was 16. The map was spread across the driver's seat. It showed the interstate, the rest area, the towns north and south. But there were extra roads drawn in red ink. Roads that did not exist. Roads that looped back into the rest area again and again. At the center of the map, over the building where I was parked, someone had drawn a black circle. Inside the circle were 8 small X marks, one for each car in the lot. Then I saw there was a 9th X. It had been added in fresh red ink. Beside it, someone had written blue sedan. I threw the map onto the passenger seat and started the engine. It turned over immediately. The dashboard lit up, gas half full, phone charging from the cable, time 1:47 in the morning. I put the car in reverse. The backup camera came on. A woman was standing directly behind my car. I slammed the brake. She was close enough that I could see the wet strands of hair stuck to her face. She was wearing a light grey hoodie and jeans, barefoot. In the rain, she looked young, maybe 20, maybe younger. I turned around. Through the rear window, there was no one there. I looked back at the camera. She was still on the screen, standing motionless, staring into the lens. Her lips moved. The backup camera had no audio, but I could read what she said. "Do not back up." I put the car in drive. The camera switched off. The lot ahead of me was empty. I pulled forward slowly. As my headlights swept across the parked cars, their interior lights went out one by one. The green Subaru, the white sedan, the red compact, the black SUV, the old station wagon, the silver coupe, the brown minivan, the rusted pickup. Dark, 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 dark. By the time I reached the exit lane, all 8 were dark again. Then the restroom lights came on, bright white, every light at once. The building glowed behind me in the rearview mirror, and in that mirror, I saw people standing in front of it. 8 people, one for each car. They stood side by side beneath the awning, soaked by rain, facing my car. The woman in the grey hoodie was among them. So was a man in a business suit, an elderly couple, a teenage boy wearing a baseball cap, a woman holding a baby carrier, a trucker without a truck, and a little girl in a yellow raincoat. None of them moved. Then the little girl lifted one hand and waved. I hit the gas. The exit road curved back toward the interstate. For a few seconds, I thought I was out. Then the road split. That should not have happened. There had been one road into the rest area, one road out, but now there were 2. A sign pointed left, northbound, another pointed right, return to rest area. I turned left. The road curved through the trees. Rain hammered the windshield. The wipers slapped back and forth. After half a mile, I saw lights ahead. Highway lights, a row of them. I laughed once, breathless. Then I passed the sign, rest area, 2 miles. My laughter died. The road fed directly back into the same parking lot. Same brick building, same vending machines, same payphone, same 8 cars. I slammed the brake. The car skidded, stopped sideways across 2 parking spaces. My phone screen lit up. Battery, 100%. No signal. Then it rang. Unknown caller. I did not answer. It rang until it stopped. Then a voicemail appeared. I tapped it by accident with my shaking thumb. Static filled the car speakers. Then my own voice came through. It sounded tired, terrified, out of breath. Do not take the northbound lane. I stared at the phone. My recorded voice continued. They mark the cars in the order you arrive. If you see the people outside, do not look at their faces. If the payphone rings, do not. The message cut off. The payphone began ringing again. Outside, under the awning, I looked toward it. The woman in the grey hoodie was standing beside it now. Her hair hung over her face. The receiver was in her hand. She held it out toward me. Then my car doors unlocked. All at once. Click. I hit the lock button. They unlocked again. Click. The woman lifted the receiver higher. Her mouth moved. This time, I heard her voice through my car speakers. Please take the call. I drove. Not toward the exit. Not toward the northbound lane. I drove straight over the curb, across the wet grass behind the vending machines. The car bounced violently. The bottom scraped against something hard. For a second, I thought I would get stuck. Then the tires found gravel, a maintenance road, narrow, unmarked, running behind the restrooms and into the trees. I followed it because there was nowhere else to go. The road twisted through dark woods. Branches scraped both sides of the car. Mud splashed the windshield. My headlights shook over trunks, signs, and old guardrails. Then I saw a chain across the road. I hit the brakes too late. The chain snapped against my bumper with a loud metallic bang. The car lurched forward and stopped. I sat there, breathing hard. Ahead of me, beyond the broken chain, the maintenance road sloped upward. At the top, I could see the interstate. Real traffic, moving lights, a truck roaring past in the rain. I drove up the slope and merged onto the shoulder. The moment my tires touched the highway, my phone signal returned. 4 bars, maps working, battery 7%, time 3:18 in the morning. I kept driving until I reached a 24-hour travel plaza full of trucks, fluorescent lights, and people buying bad coffee. I parked beside the entrance and sat there until sunrise. In the morning, I searched for the rest area online. Nothing came up. There was no active rest area between the exits I had passed. No closed rest area listed either. I called the state highway office 2 days later and asked about a brick rest stop with vending machines and a payphone. The woman on the phone went quiet. Then she asked, "Were there cars there?" I almost hung up. Instead, I said, "Yes." "How many?" "8. She exhaled. "Then you should be fine." "What does that mean?" She did not answer my question. She only said, "Do not stop there again." Then the line disconnected. A week later, I found something in my glove compartment, a photograph. It showed my car parked in that rest area, under the rain, facing the restroom building, taken from the row of parked cars. There was a red X drawn over the windshield. On the back, in red ink, someone had written, "Not this time. I do not drive long distances at night anymore. I do not stop at rest areas after dark. And whenever I see a blue sign on the highway that says rest area 2 miles, I keep driving." even if I am tired, even if my phone is dying, even if I have to use the bathroom so badly my hands shake on the wheel. Because somewhere out there is a rest area with no lights, 8 cars in the lot, a payphone that still rings, and one empty space waiting for the next driver who thinks they only need to stop for a minute. Story 3. The headlights that would not pass. I learned something about empty highways that night. A car does not have to chase you to make you afraid. Sometimes it only has to stay behind you, same distance, same speed, same headlights in your mirror, mile after mile, like it is waiting for you to make one mistake. My name is Claire, and at the time this happened, I was driving from Denver to Omaha alone. It was not supposed to be a night drive. I had planned to leave early in the morning, stop for lunch somewhere in Nebraska, and reach my sister's house before dark. But my apartment inspection ran late. Then the moving company called about a missing form. Then I spent almost an hour crying in a grocery store parking lot because I had packed my entire life into the back of a 10-year-old hatchback and suddenly realized I did not want to start over. By the time I finally got onto Interstate 76, the sun was already dropping behind the mountains. By the time I crossed into Nebraska, it was fully dark. I told myself I would stop at the next hotel, then the next, then the next. That is how night driving gets you. You keep thinking you can do one more exit, one more hour, one more stretch of black road. At 1:42 in the morning, I was somewhere east of North Platte, with nothing around me but open fields, dark sky, and a line of red taillights far ahead that looked more like a memory than traffic. My car was packed to the ceiling, boxes in the back, clothes on the passenger seat, a laundry basket wedged behind me, my old desk lamp lying across the folded rear seats. The rear window was partly blocked, but I could still see the road through a gap between 2 boxes. That was how I first noticed the headlights. 2 pale white lights far behind me. At first, I barely paid attention. Cars came and went, trucks passed, headlights appeared in the mirror and vanished again. But these headlights did not vanish. They stayed. When I slowed to 65, they slowed. When I went back to 75, they kept the same distance. When I moved into the left lane to pass a slow-moving semi, they moved with me. When I returned to the right lane, they followed. I watched them for almost 10 minutes before I admitted to myself that something felt wrong. The road was nearly empty. There was no reason for anyone to stay behind me like that. They could pass, they could fall back, they could take another lane, but they did none of those things. They just stayed there, not close enough to be aggressive, not far enough to forget, just present. I turned off the podcast I had been half listening to. The car filled with road noise, the soft rattle of boxes, the hum of tires over old pavement. I adjusted the rearview mirror. The headlights were still there. I could not see the vehicle itself, only the lights. Low, ever, almost perfectly still, a sign appeared on the right shoulder. Rest area, 6 miles. I thought about stopping. Then I remembered every warning my father had ever given me about rest stops after midnight. Keep driving until you find a gas station. Park under lights. Never stop where there are no people. So I kept going. A minute later, my phone buzzed in the cup holder. Unknown caller. I glanced at it and ignored it. It buzzed again. Unknown caller. The headlights remained behind me. The phone buzzed a 3rd time. I told myself it was spam. Then a voicemail notification appeared. That was strange. My phone had barely rung long enough for voicemail. I reached down, unlocked the screen with one hand, and tapped the notification. The audio came through the car speakers. At first, there was only static. Then a man's voice said, "Do not take the next exit." I nearly swerved. The voice was low and rough. like someone speaking too close to an old microphone. The message continued. Do not pull over. Do not turn around. Keep both hands on the wheel. The voicemail ended. I stared at the phone. No number, no timestamp, just unknown caller. I checked the rearview mirror again. The headlights were closer, not much, but closer. My mouth had gone dry. I picked up the phone and tried calling my sister. No signal. That made no sense. A minute ago, I had received a call. I tried again. Nothing. No bars. No service. The GPS still showed my route, but the map had stopped loading beyond the blue line. A black emptiness surrounded the highway. Another sign appeared. Exit 211, 1 mile. The voice repeated in my head. Do not take the next exit. I kept driving. As I passed the exit ramp, the headlights behind me suddenly moved left. For 1 second, I thought they were finally going to pass. Instead, they matched my position in the left lane. Then they flashed their high beams. Once, twice. I gripped the steering wheel. Go around, I whispered. They did not. The phone buzzed again. Unknown caller. This time, I answered. Hello? Static. Then the same man's voice. You did good. My hands tightened. Who is this? Do not look in the back seat. I went cold. My eyes moved automatically toward the rearview mirror. The back of my car was packed with boxes. There was no back seat visible. Only cardboard, clothes, a rolled up blanket, and the dark shape of my desk lamp. What did you say? The man's voice hardened. Do not look. Who are you? Someone who stopped. The line crackled. Then he said, you need to stay in the right lane. Ahead of me, the highway curved gently. A bridge crossed over a dry creek bed. The left lane disappeared temporarily for construction. Orange barrels began lining the shoulder. I stayed right. The headlights behind me moved right too. The voice said, when you see the white van, do not slow down. What white van? The call ended. I almost screamed. A few seconds later, I saw it. A white van parked on the shoulder just beyond the bridge. Its hazard lights were blinking. The rear doors were open. A person stood beside it, waving one arm. I could not see their face. They wore a dark hoodie. They stepped closer to the lane as I approached. My first instinct was to slow down. That is what decent people do when they see someone in trouble. But everything in me remembered the voice. Do not slow down. I kept my foot on the gas. The person by the van waved harder. Then they stepped into my lane. I swerved left just enough to miss them. As I passed, my headlights caught their face. It was a woman, young, wet hair stuck to her cheeks, eyes wide, mouth open. She screamed something I could not hear. Then she was gone behind me. The headlights behind me swerved too. For a few seconds, they disappeared. Then they returned. Same distance, same speed. I looked in the mirror. The white van was no longer on the shoulder. No hazard lights, no open doors, no woman, just darkness. My phone rang again. This time, I answered immediately. What is happening? I shouted. The man said, she is not the one you saw. What? She is what they used to make you stop. Who are they? The man was silent for a moment. Then he said, the people in the cars that never pass. A chill moved through me. I checked the mirror. The headlights were still there. How do you know this? Because I followed them once. You followed them? I thought they needed help. The call crackled. In the background, I heard wind, cars passing, and something else. A faint, metallic tapping, like fingers on glass. The man spoke again. Listen carefully. In about 3 miles, there will be a sign for a 24-hour diner. I looked ahead. Nothing but dark road. You are going to want to take it. Why? Because the sign will have your sister's name on it. My breath caught. What? Do not take it. My sister's name? Claire. I froze. He had said my name earlier? No, I did not think he had. Who are you? The man ignored the question. Tell me what is in your back seat. I swallowed. Boxes. What else? Clothes. A lamp. A laundry basket. Anything you did not pack? No. Are you sure? I almost looked. I almost turned my head right then. But he said sharply, eyes forward. I snapped my gaze back to the windshield. A green sign appeared in the distance. At first, I could not read it. Then, my headlights caught the white letters. Mara's Diner, next exit, open 24 hours. My sister's name was Mara. My foot lifted from the gas without my permission. The exit ramp came into view. There was a small glow beyond it, like town lights behind a hill. A diner sounded safe. People, coffee, bathrooms, a phone, my sister's name. The man on the call said, keep driving. I passed the exit. As I did, I looked toward the ramp. There was no diner, no building, no lights, only a narrow road running into a field. At the end of the ramp stood 3 cars, all facing the highway, headlights off, doors open, no people. Then my car filled with the smell of cigarette smoke. I did not smoke. No one had smoked in my car. The smell came from behind me. A soft breath touched the back of my neck. I locked my eyes on the road. The phone slipped slightly in my hand. The man on the line said very quietly, now you know why you should not look. My throat closed. There is someone in my car. Yes. How? At the last gas station. I thought back. The gas station outside Ogallala. Bright pumps. A clerk asleep behind the counter. A man in a brown coat standing near the ice machine. I had been so tired. I had gone inside to pay. I had left my car unlocked for less than a minute. Less than a minute. My voice came out thin and broken. What do I do? Keep driving. For how long? Until the headlights pass you. They will not pass. They will if you make them choose. Choose what? The man did not answer. Behind me, something shifted. A cardboard box rustled, slowly, carefully, the way someone moves when they do not want to be heard. I wanted to scream. I wanted to slam on the brakes and run. But I knew that was what he wanted. Whoever was behind me, whatever was behind me, the headlights stayed in my mirror. The man on the phone said, there is a way station ahead. It is closed. Do not enter the lot. Use the service lane beside it. How do you know where I am? Because this is where I died. The words hit me so hard that for a second I could not breathe. What? I stopped at the diner exit, he said. It was not there. The line went quiet except for the wind. Then he continued, I woke up in my car 2 days later, but I was not alone anymore. Ahead, I saw the sign, way station closed. The main entrance was blocked by cones, but to the right of it, a narrow service lane ran alongside the building and back toward the highway. Take the service lane, the man said. I did. The lane was narrow and badly lit, with the dark way station building on my left and a chain link fence on my right. As soon as I turned in, the headlights behind me accelerated. For the first time, they got close. Too close. They filled the entire rear window. Inside my car, the thing behind me breathed harder. Not human breathing. Not exactly. To a bit. Too close. The service lane curved around the building. Halfway through the curve, I saw a truck parked across the lane. Its trailer blocked the road. I slammed the brakes. The car stopped 10 feet from the trailer. No room to turn around. No room to pass. Behind me, the headlights stopped too. For 1 second, everything was still. Then the passenger side rear door unlocked. Click. I did not touch it. My hands were on the wheel. The lock button rose by itself. Behind me, something leaned forward. A voice whispered into my right ear. Claire. It sounded like my sister. Exactly like my sister. I started crying. The man on the phone shouted, "Do not answer it." The voice behind me whispered again, "Claire, please. I am hurt." I squeezed my eyes shut for half a second. When I opened them, I saw a gap beneath the truck trailer. Not much, but maybe enough for my car to fit if I drove partly onto the gravel shoulder. Maybe not. The headlights behind me flashed once. Then the rear door handle began to move. Slowly. Up, down, up, down. The voice behind me changed. Now it sounded like my mother. "Sweetheart, open the door." I screamed and hit the gas. The car lurched forward. The right tires jumped onto the gravel. The left side scraped against the metal guardrail. The side mirror exploded. Something tore across the roof. The car squeezed beneath the edge of the trailer, with a sound like the whole world ripping apart. For one terrible second, I thought I had misjudged it. Then I burst out on the other side. The service lane opened back onto the highway. I merged without looking. The headlights followed, but now they were not behind me. They were beside me. In the left lane, a dark sedan, old, long, black. Its windows were too tinted to see inside. It matched my speed. 70, 75, 80. My phone speaker crackled. The man said, "Do not let it get ahead of you." The rear door behind me opened half an inch. Cold air roared into the car. I held the wheel with both hands. The sedan beside me began drifting right, forcing me toward the shoulder. I had nowhere to go. Ahead, the highway crossed another bridge, a narrow one, concrete walls on both sides. No shoulder. The sedan accelerated. It was gonna cut me off before the bridge. The thing in my back seat whispered, "Pull over." For the first time, I got angry. Not brave. Angry. I had been tired, afraid, alone. But I was not going to be taken off the road by whatever this was. I pushed the gas pedal to the floor. My little hatchback screamed. The boxes in the back shifted. The open door banged against the frame. The sedan moved faster. We reached the bridge together. For 1 second, the cars were side by side. Then the headlights that had been behind me all night appeared in front of the sedan. Not in front of me. In front of it, the black car swerved. Its tires shrieked. It hit the concrete barrier hard enough to throw sparks into the dark. I shot past it. In the mirror, I saw the sedan spin across the highway, then stop, facing the wrong direction. Its headlights looked at me one last time. Then they went out. The thing in my back seat screamed. A high, furious, inhuman sound. The rear door flew open. Something tumbled out onto the road behind me. I did not stop. I did not slow down. I drove until the sky turned grey. I drove until I reached a gas station crowded with morning commuters. Only then did I pull in. Only then did I get out of the car. The rear passenger door was still open. The back seat was covered with mud, not dust, not dirt from my boxes. Wet mud. There were finger marks on the inside of the rear window. Long, thin, dragged downward. My laundry basket had been overturned. One of the boxes had split open, and on top of my clothes was a brown leather wallet. I picked it up with shaking hands. Inside was a driver's license. The photo showed a man in his 40s with tired eyes and a grey beard. His name was Aaron Bell. Tucked behind the license was a folded newspaper clipping. It was about a fatal crash on Interstate 80 from 9 years earlier. A man named Aaron Bell had died after pulling off the interstate near a closed diner exit. His car was found 2 days later, parked on the shoulder with the engine still running. Investigators believed he had been struck by a passing vehicle after stepping out of the car. But there was one detail the article mentioned only briefly. The rear passenger door had been open when police arrived. I tried to report what happened. The state trooper who took my statement listened politely until I mentioned the phone calls. Then he stopped writing. He asked me to repeat the name from the wallet. When I said Aaron Bell, his face changed. He left the room and came back with another officer. They asked where I found the wallet. I told them, in my backseat. Neither of them looked surprised. They kept the wallet. They told me someone would call if they needed anything else. No one ever did. I reached Omaha that afternoon. My sister cried when she saw the side of my car. The whole right side was scraped nearly to the metal. The mirror was gone. The roof was dented. The rear door would not close properly. And across the inside of the back window, written in the mud by one long finger, were 3 words. He made it. I never heard Aaron's voice again, but sometimes when I drive at night and a car stays behind me for too long, my phone buzzes. Unknown caller. I never answer while the car is moving. I wait until I am somewhere bright, somewhere crowded, somewhere safe. Then I check the voicemail. Most of the time, there is nothing, just static. But once, last winter, I got a message at 2:11 in the morning. A man's voice, low, rough, close to the microphone. He said, "Do not take the next exit." And then, after a long pause, not all of them are gone. Story 4, the last passenger on Route 17. I drove overnight buses for 12 years. People think long-distance bus drivers see a lot of strange things. They are right. We see people running from something, people going back to something, people who sleep for 9 hours without moving, people who get on with one small bag, and eyes that tell you they have no plan after the last stop. But most strange things can be explained. Bad breakups, missed flights, too much alcohol, no money, no sleep. A bus station after midnight is full of people whose lives have gone slightly off track. You learn not to ask too many questions. You check the ticket. You load the bag. You tell them where to sit. You keep the bus moving. That was how I treated Route 17. Route 17 was the overnight line between Portland, Maine, and Albany, New York. It was not the busiest route, not even close. It passed through small towns, dark stretches of forest, closed diners, old depots, and gas stations where the coffee tasted burned no matter what time you bought it. In summer, it carried students, tourists, and retirees. In winter, it carried almost no one. The night this happened was in early December. Cold rain in Portland, freezing fog inland, snow predicted before morning. I should have known it was going to be a bad drive when the dispatcher handed me the manifest and said light load tonight. That was usually good news. Fewer passengers meant fewer problems. I looked at the paper. 7 passengers, Portland to Albany, 1 stop in Augusta, 1 in Concord, 1 unscheduled rest stop if weather got worse. I did my walk-around inspection, tears, lights, luggage compartments, windshield wipers, emergency exits. Everything looked fine. At 10:42 at night, I started boarding. The first passenger was an older woman named Mrs. Halpern. She had a navy coat, a hard suitcase, and the suspicious expression of someone who believed every driver was trying to lose her luggage. The second was a college kid with headphones around his neck and a backpack that looked heavier than he was. The third was a young mother traveling with a sleeping little girl wrapped in a pink blanket. The fourth was a man in a grey hoodie who smelt like cigarettes and kept looking behind him. The fifth was a nurse heading home after visiting family. The 6th was a quiet teenage boy with no luggage except a plastic grocery bag. The 7th passenger boarded last. His name on the manifest was Martin Keller. Middle-aged, window seat, paid online. He handed me his ticket without a word. I scanned it. Valid. He stepped onto the bus and took a seat near the back. I counted the passengers in the mirror. 7. Exactly 7. At 11:05, we pulled out of Portland. Rain tapped against the windshield. The city lights thinned behind us. The passengers settled into the usual silence of overnight travel. Some leaned against windows. Some put on headphones. The little girl slept across 2 seats while her mother kept one hand resting on her back. For the first hour, nothing happened. At Augusta, no one got off. No one got on. I stepped outside, checked the tires, and stretched my legs. The cold had sharpened. Rain was beginning to freeze along the edges of the mirrors. When I got back into the driver's seat, I checked the cabin mirror again. 7 passengers. Mrs. Halpern near the front, college kid behind her, mother and daughter on the right, grey hoodie halfway down, nurse across from him, teenage boy near the rear, Martin Keller in the last row. 7. I closed the door. The bus hissed. We pulled back onto the road. About 20 minutes after Augusta, the interior lights flickered just once, the kind of small electrical twitch buses sometimes have in bad weather. No one reacted. Then the onboard microphone clicked on by itself. A soft pop came through the speakers. I frowned. The mic was mounted beside my seat. The switch was off. Then a voice came through the cabin speakers. A man's voice. Low, close. This bus makes one extra stop. Every passenger looked up. I hit the microphone switch. Nothing. I pressed the announcement button. Sorry, folks. Technical issue. Mrs. Halpern leaned into the aisle. Driver, what was that? Just the public address system. It happens. That was a lie. In 12 years, I had never heard the public address system speak by itself. I glanced in the mirror. The passengers were still looking around. All except Martin Keller. He was sitting in the last row, head turned toward the window as though nothing had happened. A few minutes later, the college kid came up the aisle. Hey, he said quietly, is there another stop before Concord? No. He lowered his voice. Then why does the screen say there is? I looked at the small route display above the windshield. It usually showed the next stop. Next stop, Concord. But now it said, next stop, Wellsboro Depot. He stared at it. There was no Wellsboro Depot on Route 17. Not in Maine. Not in New Hampshire. Not anywhere on my route. I tapped the screen. It flickered, then changed back. Next stop, Concord. The college kid looked at me. You saw that, right? System glitch, I said. He did not look convinced. Neither was I. The weather got worse after midnight. Fog rolled in low and thick, swallowing the trees beyond the shoulder. The road became a tunnel of white reflectors and wet black asphalt. The bus heater hummed. The wipers dragged sheets of freezing rain across the glass. I kept both hands on the wheel. At 12:37, the radio crackled. Dispatch. Route 17, status check. I picked up the handset. Route 17. Running on schedule. Weather getting rough after Augusta. Copy. Passenger count? 7. There was a pause. Confirm 7. I looked in the mirror. Mrs. Halpern, college kid, mother, little girl, grey hoodie, nurse, teenage boy, Martin Keller. I counted again. 8. My mouth went dry. I counted a third time. 8. Someone was sitting 3 rows behind the nurse. A man, dark coat, head lowered. hands folded in his lap. I did not recognize him. He had not boarded in Portland. He had not boarded in Augusta. There had been no stop. Dispatch repeated, Route 17, confirm passenger count. I brought the radio closer. Stand by. The unknown man lifted his head. In the mirror, I saw his face, or tried to. The cabin was dim, and his seat was partly in shadow. But I could see enough. Pale skin, dark hair, eyes open, looking directly at me through the mirror. Then he smiled. The radio hissed. Dispatch said, Route 17, is there a problem? I swallowed. No problem. Confirming 7 paid passengers. The unknown man's smile widened. He slowly raised one finger to his lips, a shushing gesture. Then he looked out the window. I could feel sweat gathering beneath my collar. Despite the cold, there was no safe place to stop. Not yet. The next town was 30 miles away. The road was narrow. The shoulder was soft. I told myself I would keep driving until Concord. Then call police from the station. Then let them remove whoever he was. But at 12:51, the bus began slowing down. I did not take my foot off the gas. The engine lost power anyway. The speedometer dropped from 55 to 40. Then 30, then 20. A sign appeared through the fog. Old, wooden, leaning slightly. The headlights caught the words, Wellsboro Depot, half-mile. I whispered, no. The college kid saw it too. He stood halfway out of his seat. Driver? Sit down, I said. The road curved left. The steering wheel turned under my hands. Not hard, not violently, just enough that I could feel the bus guiding itself toward a narrow side road. I fought it. The bus did not listen. We turned off the highway. The tires rolled from asphalt onto cracked pavement. The fog thickened. The route display above me flickered again. Arriving Wellsboro Depot, Mrs. Halpern began praying under her breath. The little girl woke up and started crying. Her mother pulled her close. The man in the dark coat sat perfectly still. The side road ended at an old bus depot. At least, it used to be a bus depot. The building was long and low, with boarded windows and a rusted metal awning over the curb. A faded sign hung above the entrance. Most of the letters were gone. Only part of the name remained. Wellsboro. The parking lot was empty. No cars, no lights, no people. Snow had begun falling, thin and dry, mixing with the fog. The bus stopped by the curb. The doors opened. I had not touched the switch. Cold air swept through the cabin. No one moved. Then the public address system clicked. The same man's voice came through the speakers. This is the extra stop. The unknown passenger stood. He was taller than I expected, too tall for the bus aisle. His head nearly brushed the ceiling as he walked forward. He did not look at any of the passengers. He stopped beside my seat. For the first time, I saw him clearly. He was maybe 40, maybe 60. His face seemed unfinished somehow, like every feature was in the right place, but not fully committed to being human. He leaned down slightly. His breath smelled like cold metal. You counted wrong, he said. I could not speak. He stepped down from the bus. The moment his foot touched the pavement, the little girl stopped crying. The man in the dark coat walked to the front of the depot. He stood beneath the rusted awning and turned back toward the bus. Then he raised one hand and pointed at the teenage boy near the rear. The boy in the back began shaking his head. No, he whispered. The nurse stood up. Hey, leave him alone. The man outside did not move. The teenage boy clutched his plastic grocery bag against his chest. I looked at the manifest. The boy's name was Tyler Ross. 17, ticket paid in cash at the Portland station, destination Concord. The depot outside remained silent. Then the route display changed. Passenger transfer required. I reached for the door control. The doors would not close. I pressed it again. Nothing. The man outside kept pointing. The teenage boy whispered, "I am not getting off." The public address system crackled. A new voice came through. Not the man's voice this time. A woman, soft, exhausted. "Tyler Ross." The boy covered his ears. The woman repeated, "Tyler Ross." His face crumpled. "No," he said. "No, no, no." The mother near the front began crying silently. The nurse moved into the aisle. "Driver, close the doors." "I am trying." The unknown man outside lowered his hand. Then every overhead light inside the bus went out. The cabin dropped into darkness. People screamed. The only light came from the dashboard and the pale glow outside the depot. In that dim light, I saw movement beyond the windows. Shapes standing under the awning. 1, then 3, then 10, then more. People, a line of people outside the depot, all facing the bus. Some wore winter coats. Some wore old-fashioned clothes. Some looked wet. Some looked burned. Some looked perfectly normal. All of them were waiting. The woman's voice came through the speakers again. "Tyler Ross." The teenage boy started crying. "I did not know," he said. The nurse knelt beside him. "Did not know what?" He looked toward the window. His face was white. "I was not supposed to get on." "What do you mean?" He held out his plastic grocery bag with shaking hands. Inside was a bus ticket, not the one for that night. An older ticket, yellowed, creased. The date on it was December 8th, 1996. The route number was 17. Destination, Wellsboro Depot. I felt my throat tighten. The boy looked exactly 17, but the ticket was nearly 30 years old. "I found it in my grandfather's drawer," he whispered. "I thought it was just some old thing. I bought my own ticket tonight." I swear, the bus rocked slightly, as if something had leaned against it from outside. Then another voice came through the public address system, an old man's voice. "Tyler." The boy began sobbing. "Grandpa?" The crowd outside parted. An elderly man stood beneath the awning. Gray hair, brown coat, one hand resting on a cane. He smiled sadly at the boy. Tyler stood up before anyone could stop him. The nurse grabbed his arm. "Do not." Tyler looked at her, tears running down his face. "He is dead," he said. Then he pulled free and walked toward the front. I blocked the aisle with one arm. "No one gets off this bus." Tyler looked at me. "He came for me." "No." The old man outside tapped his cane once against the pavement. The sound came through the closed windshield like a gunshot. Tap. The dashboard lights flickered. Tap. The engine shut off. Tap. Every emergency exit alarm began beeping at once. The passengers panicked. Mrs. Halpern screamed for me to do something. The grey hoodie man tried to force open a side window. The mother covered her child's ears. The college kid shouted that we needed to get out, but I kept my arm across the aisle. I had driven buses long enough to know one thing. Sometimes the safest thing you can do for frightened people is not let them move. The unknown man outside stepped closer to the open door. He did not board. He only looked at me. Then he said, "Drivers should not interfere with transfers." I reached beneath the dashboard. Every bus had an emergency override, a manual lever that forced the doors closed if the electrical system failed. I had only used it during training. I wrapped my fingers around it and pulled. The doors shuddered. The man outside moved fast, too fast. His hand shot into the gap between the folding doors. Long fingers wrapped around the metal edge. His skin began to split where the doors pressed against it. He did not react. He only stared at Tyler. "Passenger transfer required," the public address system whispered. I pulled harder. The door motor whined. The man's fingers bent backward. Still, he did not let go. Then, Mrs. Halpern stood up. The old woman with the navy coat and hard suitcase. She stepped into the aisle, raised her cane, and struck the man's hand, once hard. The fingers snapped back. The doors slammed shut. The bus erupted in darkness. For 3 seconds, there was nothing. No sound, no lights, no engine, no breath. Then the engine roared back to life. The headlights flashed on. The depot was empty. No man, no crowd, no old man, no snow, only fog, and a boarded building that looked as if no one had touched it in decades. I did not wait. I put the bus in gear and drove. The road back to the highway felt longer than it had coming in. No one spoke. The passengers sat rigid in their seats, staring ahead or down at their laps. Tyler sat behind me now. The nurse had moved him there and kept one hand on his shoulder. Mrs. Halpern sat across from him, holding her cane with both hands. When we reached the main road, the route display changed again. "Next stop, Concord." I picked up the radio. "Dispatch, this is Route 17. Emergency. I need law enforcement at Concord Station." Static. Then dispatch answered. "Route 17. Say again." "Possible unauthorized passenger. Possible mechanical malfunction. Request police at arrival." There was a pause. "Route 17. Confirm passenger count." I looked in the mirror. Mrs. Halpern. College kid. Mother. Little girl. Grey hoodie. Nurse. Tyler. Martin Keller. 8. My heart sank. Martin Keller was still in the last row, but there should have been 7. I pulled the manifest from the clipboard. I checked it again. Mrs. Halpern. College kid. Mother and daughter. Grey hoodie. Nurse. Tyler. Martin Keller. That was 8. I counted the names again. I had missed it before. The manifest had always had 8 passengers. But dispatch had said 7. The name Martin Keller was printed at the bottom in a slightly different font. The ink looked darker, newer. Under destination, it did not say Albany. It said Wellsboro. I looked in the mirror. Martin Keller raised his head. He smiled at me. Then he pressed one finger to his lips. Shh. I wanted to stop the bus right there. I wanted to order everyone off. But the road was dark, the fog was thick, and there was no safe shoulder. So I kept driving. At Concord, police were waiting. 2 officers boarded. They checked every passenger, tickets, ID cards, bags, statements. When they reached the last row, Martin Keller was gone. His seat was empty. No one had seen him leave. No one had seen him move. The officer asked me if I was sure he had been there. I handed him the manifest. The bottom line was blank. No Martin Keller. No Wellsboro. Only 7 printed passengers. I almost lost my mind right there in the driver's seat. Then the teenage boy, Tyler, started screaming. Everyone turned. He was holding his old ticket, the yellowed one from 1996. The ink had changed. Where the destination had once read Wellsboro Depot, it now read Transfer Denied. Underneath that, in fresh black letters, someone had written, Driver Interfered. I was taken off the route for 3 weeks. Company policy, mental health evaluation, incident review, drug test, mechanical inspection. The official report blamed an electrical failure, weather conditions, and passenger panic. The old depot was never found. There was no Wellsboro depot listed in the State Transit Archives for that route. Not officially. But an older mechanic at the company told me something I will never forget. He said Route 17 used to make an extra stop decades ago before the interstate changed, and half the smaller lines were shut down. There had been a depot, not called Wellsbury, something similar, a station that burned down one winter night while 12 people waited inside for a delayed bus. The bus never stopped. The driver said later that he never saw the station lights. By the time anyone realized what had happened, the building was gone. No one survived. The mechanic would not say more. He only told me one thing. Some routes remember who was left behind. I quit before Christmas. I do not drive buses anymore. I sell auto parts now. 9 to 5. Daylight hours. No overnight route. But once every winter, usually in December, I get an envelope in the mail with no return address. Inside is a bus ticket, old paper, yellowed edges, Route 17, Portland to Albany, one extra stop printed in faded ink, Wellsboro Depot. And every year, the seat number changes. The last one said, driver seat.